This concept is especially relevant in everyday life because it influences how we raise our children, perceive personal responsibility, and interact with others. As we delve into the intricacies of this timeless question, get ready to uncover the surprising ways your genes and environment are constantly negotiating the person you're becoming. One of the earliest and most influential frameworks is the tabula rasa concept, introduced by John Locke, which suggests that the human mind is born as a blank slate, with all knowledge and behaviors acquired through experience and learning. This idea leans heavily towards the nurture side of the debate, implying that our environment plays a significant role in shaping who we become. This viewpoint is often associated with psychologists like Noam Chomsky, who proposed that certain linguistic abilities are universal and inherent to the human species. My colleagues in the field have also pointed out that twin and adoption studies provide valuable insights into the nature-nurture debate, as they allow researchers to compare the similarities and differences between identical twins raised apart and those raised together. One significant research finding that has contributed to our understanding of nature versus nurture is the work of psychologist Thomas Bouchard, who conducted a series of twin studies in the 1970s and 1980s. His research showed that identical twins separated at birth often exhibit remarkable similarities in their behaviors, interests, and even habits, despite being raised in different environments. For example, one set of twins discovered they both had a passion for woodworking and had even married women with similar names. Such findings suggest that genetics play a substantial role in shaping our personalities and preferences. However, it's essential to acknowledge the interplay between nature and nurture, as it's rarely a simple either-or scenario. The concept of epigenetics, which studies how environmental factors influence gene expression, has become increasingly important in understanding this dynamic. My experience with clients has shown that traumatic experiences, for instance, can affect gene expression and have lasting impacts on mental health, highlighting the complex interaction between our genetic predispositions and environmental factors. The debate surrounding nature versus nurture is not without controversy, with some researchers arguing that the field has historically overemphasized the role of genetics in shaping human behavior. Critics argue that this perspective can lead to a form of biological determinism, where individuals are seen as being predetermined by their genetic makeup, rather than acknowledging the significant impact of social and environmental factors. In everyday life, understanding the nature versus nurture debate can have practical implications for how we approach personal growth, relationships, and parenting. For instance, recognizing that certain traits or tendencies may have a genetic component can help us develop more realistic expectations and strategies for change. At the same time, acknowledging the role of nurture reminds us that our choices and environments do play a significant role in shaping who we become. Consider the example of a child who struggles with anxiety. While there may be a genetic predisposition to anxiety disorders, research has shown that environmental factors, such as parenting styles and social support, can significantly impact the development and severity of anxiety symptoms. Therapeutic approaches like cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, can help individuals identify and change negative thought patterns and behaviors, demonstrating the potential for nurture to influence mental health outcomes. This dynamic interplay is beautifully illustrated by the example of temperament in children. Research has shown that some children are naturally more sensitive or reactive to their environment due to their genetic makeup, while others may be more resilient. However, this doesn't mean that their outcomes are predetermined. Rather, it highlights the importance of nurturing and supportive environments in shaping their development. My colleagues in the field have also emphasized the role of neuroplasticity in the nature versus nurture debate. Neuroplasticity refers to the brain's remarkable ability to reorganize itself in response to new experiences, learning, and environmental factors. This concept challenges the idea that our brains are fixed entities, instead revealing a dynamic and adaptive system that can be shaped by both nature and nurture. For instance, studies on London taxi drivers have shown that their brains undergo significant changes in the hippocampus, an area responsible for spatial memory, as they learn to navigate the complex city map. This example demonstrates how environmental demands can shape our brain structure and function, blurring the lines between nature and nurture. The concept of attachment theory, developed by John Bowlby and Mary Ainsworth, also sheds light on the interplay between nature and nurture. Attachment refers to the deep emotional bond that forms between a child and their caregivers, which is influenced by both genetic factors and environmental interactions. A secure attachment can provide a foundation for healthy development, while insecure attachments may increase the risk of mental health issues later in life. This theory highlights the critical role of early environmental experiences in shaping our emotional and social development, even if there are underlying genetic predispositions. In terms of controversies, some researchers argue that the field has historically overlooked the impact of societal and cultural factors on human development, instead focusing too narrowly on individual differences and genetic determinism. This critique emphasizes the need for a more nuanced understanding of nature versus nurture, one that acknowledges the complex interplay between biological, psychological, and sociocultural factors. To illustrate this point, consider the example of intelligence quotient IQ scores, which have been the subject of intense debate in the nature versus nurture discussion. While there is evidence to suggest that genetic factors contribute to individual differences in IQ, it's also clear that environmental factors such as access to education, nutrition, and socioeconomic status play a significant role in shaping cognitive abilities. This example highlights the danger of oversimplifying the nature versus nurture debate, as it neglects the complex interplay between multiple factors that influence human development. In therapeutic settings, understanding the dynamic interplay between nature and nurture can inform the development of personalized interventions. For instance, a therapist working with a client who has a genetic predisposition to depression may focus on developing coping strategies and providing environmental support to mitigate the risk of depressive episodes. This approach acknowledges the complex interplay between biological and environmental factors, rather than relying solely on medication or genetic determinism. As we delve deeper into the complexities of nature versus nurture, it's essential to explore how our understanding of this concept has evolved over time, particularly in relation to the role of epigenetics. Epigenetics refers to the study of gene expression and how environmental factors can influence genetic activity without altering the DNA sequence itself. This field has significantly advanced our understanding of how nature and nurture interact, revealing that environmental factors can affect gene expression and, subsequently, behavior and development. One notable example of epigenetic influence is the Dutch hunger-winter study, which examined the effects of famine on the health and development of children born during this period. The study found that individuals who were prenatally exposed to the famine had changes in their epigenetic markers, which were associated with increased risk of certain diseases later in life. This example illustrates how environmental factors, such as nutrition, can shape gene expression and have long-lasting effects on health and development. The concept of neuroepigenetics has also emerged as a crucial area of research, focusing on the interplay between epigenetic mechanisms and neural function. Studies have shown that environmental experiences, such as maternal care, can lead to epigenetic changes in brain regions involved in stress regulation and emotional processing. For instance, research on rodents has demonstrated that maternal licking and grooming behavior can alter the epigenetic marks on genes involved in stress response, leading to changes in the offspring's behavior and stress reactivity. In terms of therapeutic approaches, understanding the role of epigenetics in nature versus nurture has led to the development of innovative interventions. For example, researchers have explored the use of epigenetic editing tools, such as CRISPR-Cas9, to modify gene expression in individuals with genetic disorders. While still in its infancy, this field holds promise for the treatment of complex diseases and highlights the potential for targeted interventions that take into account both genetic and environmental factors. The study of twin and adoption studies has also provided valuable insights into the nature versus nurture debate. These studies have enabled researchers to separate the contributions of genetics and environment to behavioral traits and disorders. For instance, a study on identical twins reared apart found that there was a significant genetic component to personality traits, such as extroversion and neuroticism. However, the same study also highlighted the importance of environmental factors, as the twins' shared environment had a substantial impact on their behavioral development. Furthermore, the concept of canalization has been introduced to describe how genetic predispositions can be influenced by environmental factors. Canalization refers to the process by which environmental cues guide the development of an organism, shaping the expression of its genes. This concept is exemplified in the development of language skills, where genetic factors provide a foundation for language acquisition, but environmental exposure to language and social interaction play a crucial role in shaping linguistic abilities. The interplay between nature and nurture is also evident in the development of mental health disorders. Research has shown that genetic predispositions can increase the risk of developing conditions such as depression or anxiety, but environmental factors, such as stress and social support, can significantly influence the onset and severity of these disorders. Therapeutic approaches, such as cognitive behavioral therapy, have been developed to address these environmental factors and provide individuals with the skills and resources needed to manage their symptoms and improve their mental health. In conclusion, our exploration of the nature versus nurture debate has revealed that the relationship between genetic predispositions and environmental influences is complex and deeply intertwined. The key takeaway is that nature and nurture are not mutually exclusive, but rather complementary forces that interact and influence one another in profound ways. As we navigate our everyday lives, understanding this interplay can help us cultivate a deeper appreciation for the intricate dance between our genes, our environment, and our choices. By recognizing that our traits and behaviors are shaped by both nature and nurture, we can take a more nuanced and compassionate approach to personal growth, relationships, and mental well-being. That's all for today's Psych with Sigmund. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, may your ego find balance between pleasure and reality.